night I ended off the show, Brandon. Last night I ended off the show by stating that normally times in first days of practice, I can't sleep, right? Like I'm too excited. We got so much going on. You got spring football, day one, Lane Kiffin era officially, I guess, starts on the field. And last night I just couldn't sleep. I was so excited to be back out there. And today did not disappoint. The questions that Lane Kiffin answered definitely didn't disappoint either. We will talk about what Coach Lane Kiffin had to say in his press conference today about spring. But today, we are finally back and breaking down all of football. Today's episode, if you don't like football, I'm sorry. Said no whenever, by the way. We are going to dive deep into today and talk about everything that we saw in spring football. We'll be back out there again on Thursday. We'll be back out there on Saturday. But if you've been here for a while, you know a couple of things to be true, at least the way that I try to do these things. Today, we're going to go through offense first, then we'll go through defense. But today seemed so much different from a culture perspective than what we're used to. Today, you had a coach come out there and say, listen, we have individualized talent, high-level, elite, high levels of talent at certain places. But guys, as a practice, as a team, as a situation, we have a long way to go. I agree with him. Guys, the pads aren't even on. With that part being said, look, I've made statements like this before, like as an example. I gave an example coming out of spring football last year in stating that I have not, under Brian Kelly, seen in defense that has been that intense, that good. Well, guys, they jumped from 108th to top 30 in the league. I say the league, but in all of college football, they were 27th. Today, what we're going to break down and talk about, and what I want for you to be on the forefront of your mind, like what is on the forefront of your mind when we were having all of these conversations. Everything that I thought about what a Lane Kiffin, Charlie Weiss, Blake Baker, Kevin Smith, Charlie Weiss, Dane Stevens, I think I said Charlie Weiss twice, Eric Wolford, James Craig, Billy Glasscock, Jeff Martin, all the way down the list. Every single thing that I thought that I would walk into and see happened. We'll talk about that. You know, normally when you go into something new, if you're like me, you have expectations that you build up in your mind. Like there are expectations that going into any situation, whether it's a new job, whether it's a new relationship, whether it's a new friendship, you kind of have expectations of how you foresee things going. Maybe some of you play things by ear, but you know what I mean. You kind of let things happen as they do. Well, you got to do that in life in general because, well, that's just life. But when you walk into situations, at least for me, I can't speak for you, but thumbs up in the chat if you agree with this. When you go into what you think is monumental or a monumental situation, like you're going to another job or you're going to another interview, you have expectations in your mind about what you're going to expect or what you should expect. And I think for me, the three main pillars of what I thought I was going to see all happened. And to some extent, exceeded my expectations. I think that there were some players and some situations today without pads, I don't care what anybody tells me, that exceeded my expectations of what exactly I was going to see. It's not as if that they were doing something monumental. It wasn't that they ran a sluggo route on the outside in 11-on-11 team drills, and we saw that be completed. No. What I'm talking about is, number one, the level of intensity. And when that level of intensity wasn't matched by every single position group, you were told about it by Lane Kiffin. You know, the biggest thing that I thought Lane said today, and we will talk about ad nauseum to some extent over the next couple of weeks, is I think that there was a position group that was a little bit lackadaisical today. And boy, did Lane Kiffin let them have it. Exceeding expectations of what I guess really expected from him. You know, we're in a very unique situation here. The very unique situation that you and I are in is that we have a perception of Lane, right? There's a perception of Brian Kelly. There was a perception of Lane Kiffin. There's a perception of Nick Saban. There's a perception of Kirby Smart. But when you actually get out there, what is it? When you actually get out there, what is just the reality? You know, we can't do the Doctor Strange Infinity Stone, Time Stone. We can't see all of the situations that will come in hand. But today, for me, I think that not only number one were the three expectations that I had that we kind of somewhat discussed last night were met. I do think that some players superseded those expectations. Now today, at the press conference, I asked Lane Kiffin a simple question. Trade is green. Go. And more of that question came to pass. I'll let you hear that and see that in just a moment. Or today. I know that we sit in a situation where we have a perception of what Lane is. But to see it in reality, to see him in an LSU visor, to see his system going the way that it's going, got to be honest with you, it was exactly what I think every LSU fan should expect, how I expect a Lane Kiffin practice to run, and to be quite honest with you, why you have a coach 3 of the last 4 years that has 10 wins in the SEC. So I'm looking at a coach. I'm going to his practice. Thank you, by the way, for graciously allowing us in there. Letting us into practice. I'm like, damn, they are moving, son. They're moving. And as I told a staff member today, when asked a question of what did I think when we were out at practice? Speed. You're going as fast as humanly possible. We're going to dive into all of these specific instances today. But for me, if I get loud, I'm already loud. If I get excited, it's because, guys, to be honest with you, everything that I wanted to see in day one, spring one, practice one, day one, Lane Kiffin, visor, I saw it. Every expectation that I had going into day one for me was met. So we will talk about that today. Lane Kiffin also met with the media. We'll talk about that and some specific things that he stated. I thought the 3 main things that Lane said we will bring up here today as well. At the end of today's show, we'll talk about thoughts, questions, concerns. If you have thoughts, questions, concerns, a couple of ways to get involved. You can send in a super chat. You can become a member of the YouTube channel. If you're a member and it's your anniversary, you can send in a comment as well, and we will read all of those. Do us a favor as we get started here. Hit the like and share. Share to all those groups if you're on Facebook and to all those social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. Every AWA Sports Show is brought to you by our good friends over at FanDuel. Download the FD Sportsbook app today. Use your mobile device in doing so. When you download the FD Sportsbook app today, I'm going to tell you what I did on the way home. Shouldn't have done it. But the win total for LSU's 9.5, I'm going to bet the over. But I'm excited. So maybe you don't want to do that. But I did it on FanDuel today. You can go over to FanDuel and do it yourself as well. FanDuel.com/RG is where you can set your preferences every single night, every single day, every single time that we mention FanDuel. I will tell you, if you have a limit that you don't want us overseed or supersede in a month, go over to FanDuel.com/RG for more details and set your preferences there as well. LSU Hyper Ninja says, Blake about to make this a movie in the making. Listen, man, I'm just going to tell you the truth. You know, last year, here's my perception of like how we do these things, okay? Before we get rolling here and get to a break, because we got a lot that we got to get into here today. Look, last year, the truth was the truth. I thought the offensive line struggled. Did they struggle during the season? I thought your edge room would be better. I was off there. I think they were actually pretty damn good in the run game. I thought they'd get after the passer more. They did not. I thought your secondary had buku's amount of talent in it. Well, Mansour Delane is going to be the number one corner taken off the board. We talked about him at nauseum during the spring, and you needed a safety, and you better go get A.J. Halsey. That dude can play. DJ Pickett looked good. I thought, and I said during last spring, P.J. Woodland is making moves. You can learn a lot during spring. I disagree with those who say, it's that bring football. Yeah. I was going to say something I shouldn't have said. Bullshit, though. Bullshit. You can learn a lot, and I think we learned a lot today in day one. All right. We got lots that we need to discuss. We got lots that we need to talk about here. Everyone do us a favor. Hit that like and share. Share to all those groups, all those social media pages. Retweet us if you're on Twitter. Subscribe if you're on YouTube. We greatly appreciate that. All right, this is what we're going to do. We are going to get to a quick break. When we come back, we're going to break down the offensive side of the football, then the defensive side of the football. We'll take thoughts, questions, concerns. And Lane Kiffin said some things at the podium today that we will get to as well. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, we do all of those things. Stay with us.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Hey guys, I want to tell you about our good friends over at Red Stick Financial. They're your local residential mortgage broker located right here in the heart of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. At Red Stick Financial, they find the bank that works for your particular set of needs to purchase the home of your dreams or refinance the current one. They truly are your partners in this process, and they pride themselves in helping individuals and families with one simple goal in mind, and that is to make home financing approachable, attainable, and stress-free. They are licensed in all Louisiana, Texas, and Mississippi. So from Amarillo to Meridian and everything in between, they have you covered. Red Stick Financial brings you creative, customized solutions, and they don't believe in the one-size-fits-all when it comes to loans. They even have special options for mobile and manufactured homes located in a flood zone and stated income financing for those of us who are self-employed borrowers. If you or someone you know is looking to buy a home, refinance an existing mortgage, or simply want to know what options are out there for your future, give Red Stick Financial a call today at 225-407-9250. That's 225-407-9250. Or check them out online at redstickfinancial.com. That's redstickfinancial.com. Before you purchase the home of your dreams or you go and do that refinance, you need to go local. Go Red Stick. We're back. Get Gooder says, sorry, I hadn't been here. Life has been lifing. I know exactly what you mean there. I know exactly what you mean. Epps family says, Blake, I heard the question you asked Lane about Trey Dez and how he brought up Seaton and Benefield without prompt. So, Brandon, can you star the Epps family comment right there? So we're going to bring this back up. We're going to show you the clip in just a moment. So I think it's a big thing in what Lane said. We're going to bring it back up. I really do think it's a big deal here. So we'll talk about that. I tried to get him to give me more on Trey Dez, and then he prompted and said what. So listen, here's what I'd say on that very quickly. Guys, we've been talking about Ty Benefield and Jordan Seaton. We talked about Ty Benefield and Jordan Seaton last night. Like, hey, man, this is going to be the narrative. Hold on, pause. Last night we came out here on Monday and said this is the narrative that's going to come out of LSU Spring 1, Day 1, Practice 1. Go watch on Monday. It was going to be Ty Benefield, Trey Green, Jordan Seaton. Now, your head coach was at a podium. I asked him a question, and there you go. I mean, unless I got Doctor Strange's Infinity Stone, the Time Stone, I mean, you heard it for yourself. I'm not playing around when I say stuff like that. We'll get to that in a moment. But I promise you this. That is, if you talk to anyone around that building, you talk to anyone around LSU, you knew that was what was going to come out of Lane's mouth, because those three, for whatever it's worth, has 1,000% separated themselves without question. We'll get to that in just a minute. Brandon, star the Epps family comment for when we get to it later. All right, let's get rolling here. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about the offensive side of the football first. So this is how we're going to do today. How we're going to do today is I'm going to give you offensive line. We're going to talk about Sam Levitt. We're going to talk about receivers and then running backs. I'll throw Trey Green obviously in there. We'll come back. We'll talk about the defensive line, secondary, linebackers, etc. There are a couple of things that we need to note before we get rolling here. Whit Weeks was not a participant. Lane Kiffin talked about that today. I did not see Steph Green, the defensive lineman from Clemson, out there either. And Solomon Thomas is currently injured, who was having a big offseason as well. And I think that's very significant about Solomon Thomas. We're going to get into that right now. So, LSU, spring practice, day one, some of the things that I observed very quickly. So, last night I told you the first thing that I'm going to do. Number one, not a question, first thing we're doing. We need to go to the offensive line. Who is it? Who's the number ones? What are we doing here? So the number twos we're not going to talk about because they're rotating guys in and out of there. There's a lot of different bodies. I mean, we could talk about Tompkins, Jones, Satterwhite, and Fry. Those seem to be the guys below your starters at the current moment as camp continues to go on. I'm very much assuring that we will be talking about them at great length. However, as I told you last night, we've been talking about this throughout the spring. Your offensive line was as followed. You had Jordan Seaton at left tackle, Devin Harper at left guard. So a conversation piece that you and I have been having for a long time. Listen, we kind of have three offensive linemen, potentially four, that we know that LSU is going to run out with. You know Jordan Seaton's coming in and starting left tackle. You retained Braylon Moore. You knew he was going to start at center. He did today. You brought in Ball from Maryland. Guys, the truth of the matter is you don't go get a big-time offensive lineman like him, and you don't plug him in right away at right guard, which is exactly where he was. The question that we had is, what do you do at right tackle? Do you give Devin Harper the first reps? Do you give Stry the first reps? Do you let him and Weston Davis battle it out? We will get to all those as spring unfolds here. But the number one thing was you knew that Weston Davis was back. The conversation that you and I had about Weston Davis was, hey, when this whole transition happened, there was a lot of people on the defensive side of the football who, yes, Weston Davis had a very below expectations season. That's how I'm going to put it. But in that low expectations, I think that there's a lot of coaches on that staff defensively that saw the high levels of potential of what he can do with right development. The real question became, because you knew it was either going to be Stry, Tompkins, Weston Davis, you knew that what you were going to probably get at right tackle. So you knew the three, maybe even four guys that you were going to get. Who was going to be that left guard? So the conversation about offensive line has been a unique one during this offseason. Well, man, what are we going to do on the offensive line? We've been really bad there. We haven't lived up to the expectations. And when we broke down the offensive line 3 weeks ago, the conversation piece that you and I had was, I'm not really there with you. Like, if you have that thought, because you know Seaton's going to start, you know Braylon Moore's going to start, you know that Ball's going to start, and you know more than likely Weston Davis, who came back, is going to get those first reps, who will be at left guard. Now, yesterday, John Eads of WAFB posted a video of Solomon Thomas, who is the former number one overall interior offensive lineman in the country, former 5-star. Looks like that he has been injured. He had been having a really decent offseason. So it's interesting to see how he progresses through spring. He really, the injuries with him have been an issue. So we'll see how he progresses there. But it was Devin Harper, the Shreveport native, who started at left guard. So LSU runs out of practice, and the first thing that they do is a simulated team period where they're not really hitting. They're just running plays, kind of getting their bearings up under them. And so they run a team period. Sam Levin was the quarterback. That was your offensive line. So again, Jordan Seaton, Devin Harper, Braylon Moore, Ball, and then Weston Davis. I'm going to stop right there too. It is very, very, very much apparent to me that Jordan Seaton is someone that we're going to talk about a lot. So let's get into that right now. Last Wednesday on the YouTube channel, on our members-only YouTube channel, we did some content, and I came out and stated, listen, here are the guys that I'm hearing around LSU that are just by far, without a shadow of a doubt, standing out. First person that you and I talked about was Jordan Seaton. Well, Blake, no duh. Okay. Why is he standing out? Because, guys, he's at the facility more than anybody probably expecting him to be. Lane Kiffin confirmed that report that we talked about on last Wednesday today. The weight, what we talked about last Wednesday. Guys, it seems as if that he's dropping pounds. He's finishing first in all of these conditioning reps. He's doing everything that is being asked of him. See, the massive concern that you and I probably have as LSU fans, or any really fans in general, when you bring in these high-profile players that, guys, you know that are getting paid, what is the work ethic going to be? Now, last night I stated that is of my opinion that I think that Jordan Seaton could be one of the top 5 best players in the sport, much less the best offensive lineman in the sport. I think he's the most athletic offensive lineman in the sport. Guys, it is very apparent to me that he has dropped at least 30 pounds. And I'm not talking about good weight that he's dropping. Upper body looks very heavy. Midsection, which seemed to be an issue for him at Colorado, is not really an issue for him. It really looks like that in 3 months, he's dropped about 30 pounds and looks very well conditioned here. I got to be completely blunt with you too. The 5 reps that I saw of Jordan Seaton was against Princewell Umam-Yellen. And I got to be completely real with you here. Lane talked about we have specialized individual high-level players. There was no battle today in day one that was must-see, stop what you're doing, let's watch, than Princewell Umam-Yellen versus Jordan Seaton. Seaton gets 2, Umam-Yellen gets 1. And these are no pads. So, again, all of that stuff will progress itself. But you had one of the best players in the country at edge going up against the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. Yeah, we didn't have that last year. Not along the offensive line or defensive line. Well, you can make the argument you had that at some positions. You certainly had that at corner, as Mansour Delane is the number 1 corner coming off the board, in my humble opinion. And we had a conversation about Mansour Delane last night. It was as high level of talent, 1v1, as I think that I've seen in the last 4 years. Because whether you had Jaden Daniels, whether you had Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas, not all the times did you have somebody across the field from them that could really push their limits. Well, now you got Princewell Umam-Yellen and Jordan Seaton battling out one another. Iron sharpens iron scenario here, and it was very special to watch. Another thing, I thought that Devin Harper looked really good. I thought he looked like a guard, which is something that you and I have talked about. I did not believe that he was a tackle, can he play right tackle? Probably. Do I think that his best position is left guard? Humbly, yes. I thought he looked good. I thought Weston Davis today had a point to prove. You know, he was going up today against Jordan Ross. And in going up against Jordan Ross, who is from Tennessee, the former 5-star defensive end, who's got a lot of speed. Now, remember the Jordan Ross conversation in just a moment when we talk about defense. He had a point to prove. In watching him in the time that we were allotted, I was like, all right, well, this is the best thing that can happen to Weston Davis. Because in this little small team period, all you got here is speed. What was the biggest thing that he struggled with a year ago? Speed. Guys that were more athletic than him getting over on him. That is just the truth. And I thought he looked fine. So you had a team period, and that was your starting offensive line. The first couple of plays were as scripted from what we could see coming in. The first play was a screen to Winnie Watkins, who was not wearing number 8. He was wearing number 6. You had some pressure off of the edge. Sam Levitt stood up in the pocket. Yes, Sam Levitt. We'll get to him next. And scrambled for about 8. Got his legs kind of twisted up under him. And he fell down. And I'm glad we saw that. We'll get to that in just a moment. He was fine. Barry on an inside dive for 7. TJ Daugherty on the stop. At least that's what it looked like. And then you had a fade route that fell incomplete. And you had a quick hitch to Phillip Wright for a first down, and that team period with the ones was over. So not a lot of things going on other than high levels of speed. In this little team period, guys, I think Ron Higgins, forgive me for not knowing where Ron Higgins works, but Ron Higgins asked Lane Kiffin a question today. Hey, it looked like in your first team period, I didn't know if you were running 2-minute. I didn't know if you were running just your normal offense. And Lane kind of brushed it off like, no, man, this is how we do things. Guys, the truth of the matter is that they were on the line of scrimmage and they weren't calling out anything. They knew what they needed to do. So if we progress, we will continue to monitor how those situations will go on. So let me turn to what probably is the biggest conversation piece that we have here is the quarterback situation with Sam Levitt. Now, I expected, because Lane said as much, I expected for Sam Levitt to be out there doing some things. And I know that Coach Kiffin had some words today in reference to what was going on with Sam Levitt. But guys, in the first team period, he was there. And let me tell you this. There was a situation where Sam Levitt had to run the football. Pressure was on. He had to climb up in the pocket, and he ran. First and foremost, it's the complete opposite of what we've seen the last 2 seasons. Bar none. Oh, you're going to get pressure on me? I'm going to run for 8 and I'm going to get down. With that part being said, there's 2 things that happened. Number 1, he kind of got tripped up and he popped right back up. Great sign. The second part is that, well, I guess really he scrambled. But number 3, I think, and I was talking to Noah Tingle about this over at Tingle & Company when we were out there today. It is of my humble opinion that I was not really expecting him to do that. Like, I don't really know what I was expecting. I guess I was expecting him go through 7-on-7s and throw the ball around. I guess I was expecting a little bit less than what I actually saw. And guys, he was in full command of what you were doing offensively. He was making checks at the line of scrimmage. He looked comfortable in doing it, and it seemed as if that he had complete and full command of what he was doing. But even with him getting tripped up in this little team period, even in this situation of him being out there, he's the number 1 guy, he's your starting quarterback, I'm glad he got tripped up. Well, Blake, why would you want that? You don't want him to get hurt. No, I don't. But at the same time, I know that confidence-wise, him doing what he did, stepping up in the pocket and going, he ain't scared. He's not scared. He's not scared of the injury situation that just happened. He's not scared of that. And guys, quite frankly, if he's lost a step, today did not show that. I thought from a speed perspective, when he knew that he had to step up in the pocket and make a decision and get on the move, he didn't waste time, and it didn't appear to me that he was slow in that reaction or he was slow running the football. Now, he got tripped up. Good. I want to see how he reacts to that. Because I've told this story before. When I tore my ACL the second go-around, the partial tear, I did not favor my left knee at all. At all. I was terrified of it. I was cautious. I didn't want to do anything mentally. I was in my own head. And then you got to come out of that. And it seemed as if that Sam Levitt's like, yeah, man, I might not be 100%, but I'm all right. I'm ready to roll here. Sam Levitt definitely stood out to me. He stood out to me just in the sense of that I guess I was expecting less and got more. Which brings me to this point. I think Lane is making sure that he's not over exceeding any expectations for anybody. You know, hey guys, we got a long way to go. We got, you know, we have a lot of good individualized talent, but we're not there yet. And he's right in those regards. But in reference to Sam Levitt, I just didn't know. I didn't expect to see him to look like that. I didn't expect him to be running around and doing some of the things that he did in period number 1. So I liked a lot of that. I like seeing it. And guys, quite frankly, I think that behind closed doors and from what Lane and Charlie and all these other guys are seeing, they obviously know more than us. So probably he's not up to complete and full speed of where you want to go. And I don't know if going in and listen to me here. I don't expect him to go through when these full pads come on. I don't know if I fully expect him to do some of the things that he did today, because you can kind of control this a little bit more. But it was very, very good to see, and it's a little bit relieving to see. Not only is he out there, not only is he running around, because he made quick decisions, he made good decisions, and when he got a little bit of pressure on him, he's like, brother, if you're going to give me 8 yards, by all means, I'm going to take it. So I thought Sam Levitt looked good to start off with. So let's stay with him. Guys, some throws. I mean, look, guys, there weren't any guys guarded, right? Like they weren't doing 7-on-7. They weren't doing like real. There was not a lot of competitional stuff going on in reference to what we got to see in some of the throws that Sam Levitt made. I thought his arm looked good. I thought he made a lot of really good throws. You know, he had a throw today to Philip Wright that Philip Wright had to pull down with one hand. We'll talk about him in just a moment. But everything that I came in expecting, to me, today superseded it. So I hope that I've been able to articulate that better. I think that I've been able to articulate what I think that I felt like I was going to see versus what I actually saw. So a very good situation with Sam Levitt. In reference to quarterbacks, I thought all of them made really good throws. I thought Landon Clark looked really sharp, to be blunt with you. It's going to be interesting to watch his progression. I thought from just a throwing standpoint, he looked extremely crisp. They ran a lot of slants, hitches, goes. They were getting a lot of timing down. I'm keeping my eyes heavy on Hassan Longstreet. I don't think that there's anybody on this campus that has a better arm, a bigger arm than Hassan Longstreet. It is of my opinion that nobody on this team has a bigger and stronger arm than him. However, seeing him up close and personal, I wonder about the delivery. So if you've been here a long time, I'm a big delivery guy. I like when quarterbacks are able to go, and if you're on the podcast, I'm sorry. You're just going to have to go to the video and see it. I like when guys, when they receive it and they go, they're here. They're here. It's a fluid motion. If you watch in the videos, Hassan Longstreet goes down to his hip and then up, which is a wasted motion. Now, if he continues to do that and it doesn't bother his timing, it doesn't bother anything that he's doing, if he can get away with it in reference to because he's got a massive arm, then that's fine. But I'm going to continue to monitor him as spring continues to expand here. As spring and competition continues to expand, is there some timing issues when he's in there? If there's timing issues, then he's going to have to start being more here instead of going down to his hip and then up. I think it's a wasted motion. You don't want to do a U. You want to do an L. Boom. Boom. But he goes down and then up. So we'll monitor that. Again, what I saw from Hassan Longstreet, I thought biggest arm on the team from today. I thought Landon Clark was extremely crisp in some of the things that he did. I was not expecting him to – I don't really know what I was expecting from him either. I guess I didn't expect him from a passing game standpoint to look as good as he did. But here's just the overall truth about quarterbacks. I thought today they all looked really good. I thought they looked really, really, really good. So Sam Leavitt exceeded expectations. I thought Hassan Longstreet had the biggest arm, and I don't think it's deniable. Like I think that like if somebody wants to come in here and talk about, oh, well, that's a hot take. There is no hot take once you see it. And then I just thought Landon Clark was very crisp. I do think that you have a really big battle at that. No, I think Landon Clark and Hassan Longstreet will battle that out. And it's going to be fun to watch both of those young men who are both extremely talented battle that one out. I do think the upside for Hassan Longstreet, fundamentally, if things change for him, the sky's the limit. The other thing I would say about the quarterbacks is that athletically, this is, as an overall room, this is the most athletic you've been in 5 years. That's difficult to say because you look at Jaden. However, Jaden and then Garrett, you are by far, from an athletic standpoint, far exceeding that expectation. You got some serious speed at quarterback too. So I thought all three looked crisp. Guys, I'm not going to bore you with some of the throws. Like, I know that there's a lot of videos out there in reference to some of the things that you saw. Make your own judgment. For me, again, if you've been here, for me, if you're throwing on air, other than seeing you throw, seeing your mechanics, I don't really know what else you can get out of that. Guys, they're in helmets and underwear. So, yes, it's a big deal. But, like, as an example, like Garrett went 69 of 72 yesterday. It's a great feat. What happens when guys start getting guarded, timing starts getting off, or you start getting under pressure? We'll continue to monitor that throughout the situation or throughout the spring. Let me circle back to the offensive line before we get to running backs and before we get to wide receivers. I spent a lot of time today with the offensive line, monitoring the offensive line. Today, it would appear to me that they were running simple and trying to perfect inside zone, meaning typical inside, like day one install inside zone. Tackles were somewhere else. Guards and centers were somewhere else too. So guards and centers were perfecting or trying to perfect, getting to a 3-tech, getting to a 1-tech defensive tackle. So 1-tech inside the shoulder of the guard and center, 1-tech, and then a 3-tech on the outside shoulder of the guard. That's what they were doing and working their way up to backer. They were hammering them on perfecting climbing inside the zone. Here's what I tell you that was a lot different today along the offensive line, which was being taught today versus what was being taught under Brian Kelly and Brad Davis. I don't think Brad put a lot of emphasis on climbing to the second level as much as it was today. Get a big push, get to the second level, and get vertical. Guys, in typical inside zone, you have got to get vertical and get pushed quickly. That is the name of the game. I thought the inside guys, I thought Ball looked really good. I think he looks really good. We'll continue to monitor that one. And Devin Harper, man, Devin Harper looked good. Jordan Seaton along the offensive line, though, I mean, guys, you're just going to have to see him. He is, regardless of what happens during the spring, regardless of what happens during the fall, from just a pure athleticism standpoint, it's not close. It isn't close. He is that good. In the run game period with Jordan Seaton, I was a little bit blown away. for someone to be that size, to be that powerful and that explosive. Like, guys, I think he might be the most explosive offensive lineman that I've seen the last 5 years here. He is that good. So we'll continue to monitor that offensive line. Let's go to running backs really quickly. So I'm sure you've seen the videos. Kevin Smith and the running backs were going through drills. They were going through the pads. They were going through a lot of different things. Today's focus was about getting pad level down and, quite honestly, being physical in the run game. I think it's funny that going through a lot of these things, Kevin Smith was going through a lot of them without pads on and running through a lot of these things with them. Guys, you're talking about a former NFL running back in Kevin Smith, okay? You're talking about a guy who is from Miami, went to UCF, played for the Lions, and he's doing these running back drills like, quite honestly, like he could still strap it up and go out there and play. The thing that I would talk about today, about if there was something that was extremely interesting in reference to today's offensive day one install, spring practice, whatever, was how much focus and intensity that they put in on the run game. The conversation that you and I have had about Lane and Charlie is that the biggest lie about their offensive system is that offensively, a lot of people look at them and say, oh, they're a pass-happy team. Because everything that they do is predicated off of being good in the run game. It's not surprising to me that the best run game offensively that Lane has had at Ole Miss led them to a Final Four. Everything is predicated off of it. Today with the running backs, when I say all of this, I'm not saying that they did not look good. However, I think Kevin Smith was on that ass. Talking about vision, pad level, being physical and running through arm tackles, being physical going through the lines of scrimmage. I think what stood out to me today about the running backs for Harlem Berry was being physical. I think Kevin Smith hammered on him being more physical. For Caden Durham, I think the thing for him is that Kevin Smith was talking about vision over and over and over again. How can you hit a hole? I think was the direct quote. If your eyes are down, getting your pad level down and keeping your head up while running physical. I think to some of the other guys like Guillory that was there and Gainey was really just a pad level thing. I did think, for what it's worth, that Gainey was the more physical of the backs that we saw today. Now, we need to see Dylan Jones, the running back from Wisconsin. There are a lot of things that we need to do. Now, let me take a timeout for just a moment. When I went over to the running backs today, I got to see Jeff Martin there, and he was with Louisiana running back and recruit Trey Martin, who was on campus. I did say hello to Trey Martin. We dabbed up, talked. He was focusing with Kevin Smith the entire time, and Kevin Smith didn't give two Rudy Poos who was around there in that running back room with the recruits that was there, Jeff Martin, and everything that was going on. I thought Jeff was doing an elite job. The Bayou legend himself, I thought he was doing an elite job at having some guys that were on campus. It was good to see Trey Martin, and that kid's not 180 pounds. So these services, 247 on 3, need to get that weight up because he is not 180 pounds. It was good to see Trey Martin. It was good to see Jeff. It was good to see the running backs. Last thing I'd say, it was a big day about physicality and lowering your pad level and eye placement. I think that for me, that is going to be one of the more developmental rooms. Who's going to stand up and stand out? So Harlem was told many times today to be more physical, running through the line of scrimmage, and Caden Durham's big focus was mainly about his vision. How can you see with your head down? So I think of all the positions that we saw, Kevin Smith was the most intense. I don't think it's remotely close. And what was funny to me is that he went through the drills and was running through everything. I mean, it was pretty incredible. Guys, he's a former NFL back. We'll continue to monitor that running back room. But I think you got a lot of – here's the good thing about that running back room. You got a lot of scholarship dudes in that room and Dylan Jones that will be coming. So who's going to win out that position? I think that this is going to come off the wrong way, but I'm just going to say it anyway. To me, it's very apparent of the difference of who your former running backs coach was to what he taught to my humble belief of what Kevin Smith teaches. This is not a shot at Frank Wilson, but guys, you have a guy in Kevin Smith who's had Quinshon Judkins, who's had Singletary, who's had Kawan Lacey. And he is a guy that when you watch his film was a very physical runner. And he is not going to put up with lack of physicality. He's not going to put up with it. As I'm sure a lot of you saw in the videos today. So I just will be real with you. That running back room, whoever it's going to be, you better be physical. Because if you're not, you probably aren't going to play for Kevin Smith. Now, time out and pause. Harlan Berry's a different beast. That's not his game. They still want him to be physical. But for me, Harlan Berry not being as physical as some of these other guys, it's not his game. I do believe that they will use him in more unique ways. So we'll see. All right. Before we move to the defensive side of the football, did not see Trey Wilson today. I do think that Eugene Wilson, do think he's still a little bit nicked up, so we'll continue to monitor that. But these are the guys that stood out to me. You had Phillip Wright. You had Jace Brown. You had Mothershed from Troy, who's someone none of us talked about. Jackson Harris. Why did I had sweat on my paper. Brandon, I need you to pull up my typed in notes. Can you pull up my typed in notes for me and put it up on my screen? Yes, sir. Pull it up on my screen. All right. So the main receivers that ran, I mean, a lot of them were there. You had Phillip Wright, you had Mothershed, you had Jace Brown, you had Trey Brown, and you had Jackson Harris. I don't know if those guys are the ones. We'll see how that room worked out. Here's the other part of this. In the team period, you also had Tre'Davious Green in the slot. It would seem as if Grace would be your inline guy as of right now. There were some situations that Tre'Davious Green was also on the inline, but a lot of situations we saw today was Trey Brown, Jace Brown, Jackson Harris, and Tre'Davious Green. Oh, I'm getting chills. I'm getting chills. That should scare the shit out of all of you. All right, and Mothershed and Phillip Wright. I think Phillip Wright looked really good. Guys, this wide receiver room is going to be ridiculous. The thing that I noticed the most about the wide receiver room was that George McDonald had the boundary guys, and some of those guys that they will use on the boundary and in the slot would go over like Trey Brown and others, and they would split up the slot inside guys. Winnie Watkins was also a part of that. Thank you, Brandon. Thank you for pulling up those notes. So Winnie Watkins was up in there. So you had about 5 or 6 guys. You had Trey Brown, Jace Brown, Jackson Harris, Mothershed, Phillip Wright, and Winnie Watkins, along with Tre'Davious Green, who seem to be that rotation of receivers that are battling it out here to start off with. You did have some other guys that would run in with the twos, but guys, this wide receiver room is insane. It is insane. The first thing that I would look at, I noticed off the jump was the explosiveness, even from Mothershed. I think you had explosiveness from Phillip Wright, who had a ridiculous one-handed catch today. You got a lot of speed everywhere. I don't really remember a time where Lane has had like bad wide receiver play. The route running, I thought, was the difference maker for me going into today versus what we saw a season ago. I think a lot of these guys looked really good at running routes, and having Trey'Dez Green specifically doing some unique things, going in motion, being in the slot, going in motion in the end line, then throwing a screen to the opposite side. I thought Trey'Dez Green's versatility was very interesting. They are rotating a lot of those guys in and out very quickly. So it's not as if that I'm trying to just punt on the wide receiver room. What I would say is my expectations of how fast and explosive they are were really interesting. It was very fun and interesting to watch. My question today to Lane Kiffin, which we'll play after the break here. My question to Lane today was an interesting one in the sense of, hey, man, what are you doing here with him? So we'll see. We'll see. All right. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on defense because there were a lot of individualized situations. So let's move over to defense really quickly. All right. So the defensive side of things, the first starting defensive line went like this. Boy, this is going to get some interesting thoughts. You had Princewell Omam-Yellen, Malik Blockton from Auburn, Richard Anderson. Yes, Richard Anderson and Jordan Ross along your defensive line. Your linebackers today were Daugherty and Devon Keys, or it was Singleton. And your secondary was what you would think. DJ, PJ, Deshaun Spears, Ty Benefield, and Tamarcus Cooley. Tamarcus and Fahim Delane are going to battle that one out. I think Fahim Delane's coming for people. Here's what I'd say about defense very quickly. I don't think that we could get a lot from them today because they were in individual drills. So this is what I'm going to do. From the defensive perspective, I think defensive line, especially in the interior, there was a lot to be desired today. I do think guys like Richard Anderson looks good. He looks the part. All right, now. All right. There was a situation today where Lane had to go over to the defensive lineman and light into their ass. I'm very interested to see how Thursday goes. Very interested. I thought both freshmen looked really good. I thought Don McKinley needed to kind of pick it up. Kind of seemed as if that I don't want to say he was a loafing, but the man said what he said. I'm going to let you put two and two together. That interior defensive line room better pick it up because you better pick it up. In reference to edge, guys, you got so much freaking talent at edge. I think Deuce Gerald's Richard Anderson stood out to me. I think Deshaun Spears looks the part, man. He's really starting to come together. Like, it really feels like to me that his body, he's kind of moving into his body here. He's kind of getting a little bit bigger. He looked a lot bigger, to be blunt with you. I thought that today defensively, for me, Ty Benefield stood out the most. Guys, we have been having conversations over the last 2 months on and off about, number one, things that I'm hearing. Number two, what I'm kind of just saw on film. But, guys, Ty Benefield is everything that you would imagine. So we will see here as this plays out. Ty Benefield definitely looks the part. He looks the part. We couldn't see a lot of Jordan Ross or the edge room, so I don't have a lot for you there. Those were the guys that ran out first. There was some rotation in there that I couldn't really see. So we'll continue to monitor. Ty Benefield, Fahim Delane, Deshaun Spears stood out to me. TJ Dottery stood out to me. And the biggest thing that stood out to me from the defensive side of the football today was an easy one. Blake Baker was not at a position, and he was going station to station to every single position group. You had Chris Kiffin at linebackers teaching them, and he was going station to station. That's exactly what Lane wants from his defense. I mean, look, man, Blake Baker is the head coach of the defense. It's how this is going to work. Jake Olson's got a very talented room. That interior defensive line better pick it up. I think Lane obviously said it the best today. That was probably the thing that I would say was the thing that I worry about. That was really like, man, I don't know the most. But Lane told you, hey, man, I had to go over there today and get all over their ass. Good. Because I didn't really like what I saw from some of the guys in there. I think the younger guys felt like that they had something to prove, while some other guys just kind of, moseyed along. Lane said what he said in the press conference. I would definitely go listen to that. All right. Let me do this. Let me get to a quick break. When we come back, I'll let you listen to our question from Lane Kiffin. We'll talk about his press conference, and we will get out of here. Stay with us. Guys, let me tell you about our good friends over at Grand Slam Heating and Air, where your comfort is their top priority. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they promise to provide customers with high-quality HVAC service at an affordable price while ensuring the homeowner peace of mind. From their office to your home, they guarantee the best hassle-free experience around. Efficiency and comfort is their game. Let them make your home Grand Slam today. At Grand Slam Heating and Air, they're offering their annual maintenance plan starting off at $18.75 a month, and also doing those $99 tune-up promotion. They provide free estimates for system and ductwork replacement, as well as offering financing to get the job done with no money up front. From Baton Rouge to Hammond to Covington, they're all around. So what you need to do today, give them a call at 225-380-9065. That's 225-380-9065. Or go over to their website, getgrandslamair.com. That's getgrandslamair.com, where your comfort is their top priority.
We're back.
All right. So I have about 5 minutes here before I got to roll. But Lane Kiffin also met with the media today, and I thought that there were three things that Lane stated. So we had a comment in here from the Epps family. Said that, Blake, I heard the question you asked Lane Kiffin about Trey'Dez Green, how he brought up Seaton and Benefield. I'm going to play this from Coach Lane Kiffin and what he had to state today.
You're right. Trey'Dez Green, you've been around a lot of special players. I guess when you look at him, and I know it's only day one, you see what exactly? And how do you, not to give trade secrets, how do you utilize someone with his skill set?
Well, his skill set is ultra elite. Okay. But so is his mindset. And that's really, really unique to have, because they usually don't coincide. You know, Ty, the safety, has it too. And Jordan seems to have it, not to just signifies those three guys, but if you were a scout out there watching, you know, those three guys would stand out from a skill set of ultra elite. But then to know too what the scout doesn't know just watching, you know, if you're just watching like how they work and their mindset. And he just he doesn't even have another speed. He doesn't have another, you know, thought besides this is how you do things. We talked to our guys about the standards. The standard, like the standard of what you work shouldn't change because what network the game's on. Shouldn't change because now everyone's out there watching practice first Sunday when nobody was watching. And he has that. And again, that's really important because a lot of times you got to bring players in that, but in your first year to inherit a player that has that, he's really, really unique that way. And that's really critical for him in the system because the way he works and how he's moved his conditioning allows you to play more in our system and not have to rotate as much, kind of like what we talked about at a running back spot. So now you can have a really big type of year.
So over the last couple of weeks, you and I have been talking about three specific players. The three players that you and I brought up the most was Ty Benefield. We brought up Trades Green, and we brought up Jordan Seaton. If you're part of our YouTube members only content, those are the three names that you and I have discussed the most. Well, now you have Lane Kiffin there talking about those three players. Guys, right now coming into spring, those are the three guys that are standing out. I do think Ty Benefield has something special with him. The sky is the limit for him. I asked about Trades Green today, hoping to get a little bit more in reference to what Lane thinks of how to utilize him. Why give away trade secrets? But he talked about the mindset of all three of them. Hey, listen. Athletically, there's nobody better than those guys. Nobody. But mentally is where they're setting themselves apart. I think Lane talked about a lot of things today. He talked about the expectations, and look, there's a long way that we have to go to be a playoff team, an elite team, a dynasty run team, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, say whatever it is, there's a long way to go. And I agree with him. There is. But guys, I'm telling you, the three young men that we have been talking about the most, Ty Benefield, Trades Green, and Jordan Seaton, have stood out from the pack. And I think what Lane talks about, look, y'all all know, like a scout knows the athletic ability. What I'm seeing is how they're separating themselves mentally and their work ethic. And I think that is how you build culture and how you do things. And we'll continue to monitor that as well. But that is the part where I look at this and just say to myself, look, I think Ty Benefield has All-American written all over him. I think Trades Green, at the end of all of this, when his football career is done, he has the athletic ability to wear a gold jacket. And I think that Jordan Seaton, from an athletic standpoint, is by far the best offensive lineman in the country. And I don't know how much, really how close it is. And they've all changed their bodies. They've all changed their mentalities and what it is that they want to do. So that is today, first day of spring football. Hope we did a good job at wrapping that up. Defensively, offensively, and what Coach Lane Kiffin had to say. All right, I got to get out of here. We will see y'all soon. Y'all have a blessed day. Sorry we had to cut this a little short. We will not be cutting the show short on Thursday, however. We will see all of y'all soon. Y'all have a blessed day. Peace.